Listeners, beware. You're in for a scare. Bork, bork. Howdy, folks. Welcome to Nightmare on Fear Street. I am your host, Zach.
And son, you are doing me a frighten. I'm your other host, Meg.
And we have a very special guest this episode.
Trauma.
Rosie!
I didn't know where this was going.
I have my dog with me right now.
Okay. Say hi to the audience.
She looks confused. She's like, Human, what's this? Why'd you wake me up for this stupid shit? Be gone, Rosie.
Goodbye. Goodbye, Puppo.
No, she's just lying in my room. I put her little bed on the side, so she's just gonna curl up.
No, puppy.
So, Meg, how was your spooky week?
Well, what did I do this week? I have not been working on much. I've been, just kind of chugging along on this animated thing that I'm doing. I made myself a new dress, which you might have seen if you follow me on Instagram.
I don't. This is news to me.
I was making, I've never made a dress before. So I have this pattern, and I copied it onto, like, butcher paper to make it. And I edited the pattern because I wanted to do a knockoff of that, like, there's this dress that I've seen online that has the straps are in the shape of a pentagram.
What?
And I did this.
That's awesome.
I did this dress using fabric from a company called Thread International, which is a American company that uses recycled plastic bottles to make a new kind of cotton blend fabric that's better for the environment, and it creates jobs in developing countries by getting people to go out and collect the plastic. Cleaning up their cities, and it's just really good company, so shout out to Thread International for giving me some fabric. Not sponsored, but, like, I just wanted to shout out. It's good fabric. It's very good. I also got some new hair dye. I'm gonna dye my hair. I found a dye that works on dark hair without bleaching, which means that my hair is gonna have, like, a spooky greenish tint to it.
Ooh.
Which I think will be pretty cool.
You getting ready for that Halloween season?
I mean, as I've said before, I don't celebrate Halloween mostly because A, it's not really a thing here, and B, my whole life is Halloween.
I mean, of course, as I look around my room and I've slowly started decorating it with Halloween stuff.
My room is exclusively decorated with Halloween stuff all year round. I'm so jaded to Halloween. Like, I don't even know when it's coming because it's like, it's every day.
No, for me, it's more Halloween-y.
And also, I spent a lot of time mentally preparing myself to revisit a dark corner of my mind.
Were you, like, getting, like, in the Rocky montage, or just, like, looking at dogs as you, like, you're running?
Yeah, pretty much. So, Zach, how was your spooky week?
It was one of the spookier, strangest weeks of my life. So, I gotta give a shout out to my friend Paul. He's the one that turned 21. It was like, he listened to the episode and was like, I got mentioned. I got drunk, but I got mentioned. So I gotta give a big old shout out to him. And then that day afterwards, we decided, hey, we want to go see Inhumans. And we had some time to kill before, our IMAX thing. So I was like, hey, you want to watch some Stranger Things before? And he's like, I've never watched it. Okay. 8 hours later, we've missed our movie and we finished Stranger Things.
First of all, Inhumans.
Yep.
You're talking about the Marvel Inhumans? I thought that wasn't coming out until, like, 2020.
No, they got rid of it as a movie. They got it into a TV show. It's the first.
Oh.
So it's the first TV show all filmed in IMAX, and we didn't go see it. We ended up watching Stranger Things, and I feel.
Why would you film a TV show in IMAX? Who's watching TV on an IMAX screen?
Clearly, the people. Apparently, it's been underperforming and it's been bad.
Oh.
So I was happy living in the 1983. And guess what I got for a reward?
What?
I got a Barb pop figure.
Amazing.
I'm holding it right now. It's just like the happiest thing in my life. Other than that, I actually have... like I said on Twitter, today's been a very super meta day. So I got home about midnight that night. And Meg, have you ever had the feeling of like someone's watching you?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, so I had that. I was about to open my door, and it was like the don't turn around moment. I'm like, I guess I need to turn around. I turn around, and there's a gigantic husky looking at me.
Oh, no.
I was just like, he was literally like 2 inches from my face, and I was like, "Hey, pupper, what's wrong? Did you get lost?" I think I almost died. It just was our neighbor's dog, so I guess they had left the gate open slightly, and it got spooked and left. So I was like, "Here, I'll just bring you back inside."
That's happened to me before because, like, I don't remember. It was many years ago because Curtis was still a little pupper. But one morning, I was just sitting watching TV, and this huge German Shepherd just kind of, like, walks by the back window. I don't know whose dog that was or how it got to our house, but eventually someone came to pick it up. But it was just so weird.
No, I think the weirder thing, though, was that it was silent.
Same with this German Shepherd. It, like, and we were, like, whistling for it, trying to get it to come over so we could read its collar, and it was just sitting there, just looking at us blankly. It was the weirdest thing.
I mean, I wanted to, like, steal that dog because I like huskies, but, you know, I had to bring it to its owner.
You did the right thing.
Of course I did the right thing, except, you know, it gave me a real harsh spookening. So, Meg, why don't you tell us about the deep, dark history of this book?
Oh, boy. So, if you are a new listener to this show, you might know that this week's book is a book that personally traumatized me as a child because I read it before I was emotionally ready. It's very hardcore for a Goosebumps ripoff. As I think I tweeted this morning, it's somehow like way more brutal and way less brutal than I remember it being at the same time. But, yeah, this week's book is called Why I Quit the Babysitter's Club, and it is one of the Bone Chiller books by Betsy Haynes, and, I've got some thoughts.
Luckily, I wasn't the one that picked this book for this week. It was actually Tim Jacobus, so if you want to send your psychiatry bills, Meg, you can more than likely to send it to him.
He is just an innocent... Stop defaming him in this way. He's just an innocent pawn in this. He didn't know what the book was about. He just did the cover.
He's been hiding since we told him that we were going to do this episode.
Anyway, so let's start by talking about this cover.
Yeah, I like how your voice just dropped in tone. Oh God, I feel so bad. I didn't mean.
I feel right now the same way that I feel before I go in to get a blood test. My whole body is shaking, and I feel kind of like I'm going to faint, but at the same time, I know what I'm about to do is good for me, and I have to keep powering through the anxiety to do it.
So this is going to be a really good cathartic experience, Meg?
Yep, this is going to be exposure therapy.
Well, I have to tell you that I do charge $180 an hour, so we only gotta, we gotta keep plowing through
Damn
this.
American healthcare system.
So, do you want me to describe the cover, or do you want to describe the cover?
Okay, so you got sort of a real bright pink cover, and it's got like the face of like a spooky guy with spooky hands imposed over it, and he's kind of like ripping back the pink stuff to reveal the picture on the cover, which is a pink pram, or a baby carriage, if that's what you call it wherever you live, with a monster hand coming out the side with big old claws, and he's got a rattle and a chewed up bunny toy, a bottle, and a blanket, and there's some like slimy stuff coming out of the corner, and then you have in a bright yellow font down the bottom, Why I Quit the Babysitter's Club, and up the top it says, created by the best-selling author of the Fabulous Five series, Betsy Haynes, Bone Chillers, now a hit TV series on ABC. Have you watched the Bone Chillers TV series?
I didn't even know this thing existed until I saw this gigantic sticker. I'm like, oh, whoa, wow, I gotta watch this. And I turn on ABC, and all it is just a Harry Potter marathon.
There's only like 3 episodes of the Bone Chillers series that people have been able to salvage because it never got a proper VHS or DVD release. They are terrible quality, but they are on YouTube, and I would recommend watching them because they are pretty funny.
Maybe. There's a lot of shows that I need to keep watching.
Yeah, this is the cover by Tim Jacobus, as we found out.
Yes, and that blew my mind.
Yeah, biggest plot twist of my life.
So there's actually a pun on the top of this, and it's problem child... ... Insert Rosemary's Baby joke here. Babysitting can be murder. Rosie had never actually seen the
Pendreds.
Pendreds?
Yeah.
Baby. It's always asleep by the time she gets to their house to babysit. But one night it starts to snort, then grunt, then howl. When Rosie goes to check it out, she finds that the Pendreds have locked their baby in its room, but not for long because the little beast is hungry for a nice, fresh babysitter. And whatever babies want, baby gets. Okay, I have to first say that this book threw me off because the name of the main hero in this is named Rosie. Literally my dog's name.
Yes.
And it really threw me off, and this has been like a super like borktastic episode so far.
We're continuing the dog theme. We kind of spoiled the twist for everybody. But you know what? If you listen to this show enough, you know what the twist is because I've complained about it a lot.
Well, everyone has listened to the Tim Jacobus episode, and you basically told everyone about it.
Yeah, but let's talk about this then. I've just given a brief... That was my recollection from, like, having read this book at age 10, I guess. That was my recollection of the plot. Pretty accurate for the most part. I did get a few details wrong. For example, the baby doesn't actually have a name.
Oh, no, it's Precious. It's like...
It's not actually named Precious. They just call it our precious baby, or our precious little one, or something like that. They never actually say what its name is. And I think that I remembered it as... I've been calling it Princess, but I think that's because I thought that its name was Precious, but then, like, over time... In my mind, I lost Precious, and I thought, oh, it was like Princess or something.
Of course, this book opens on all spooky nights with a bunch of kids. Rosie, our hero, Amber, and then Lyle and
Kyle.
Just remember Rosie, because she's the only relevant person in this book.
I mean, Amber comes up a little bit. Like, Amber sort of shows up in the middle, but Lyle and Kyle, like all annoying younger siblings in these kinds of books, are completely interchangeable with each other and disappear and add nothing to the plot. Pretty much.
I might just add like a meta counter, because all those people's names are people that I actually know in real life.
Amazing. I know absolutely nobody with any of these names.
Exactly how that's spelled. Amber, Kyle, and Lyle. It is weird, and this book was just like, I'm getting scared now. So they decide to take a spooky ride to isn't it like...
Boneyard Woods.
Why is it called Boneyard Woods, Meg?
Because some kids found some bones there one time.
Yes. It's right past the lunatic asylum and like the cabin where all those kids died 25 years to that night.
Yeah, the haunted camp built on an Indian burial ground.
Burned down, then made room for the lunatic asylum, which also burnt down.
And they moved the graves, but they didn't move the bodies.
Oh no, they just added more bodies. They had a tax break. But yeah, so they're taking like a ride in this woods, and Rosie is on her big sister's bike that she bought with her own money.
Well, see, they're gonna go for a bike ride, and her bike has flat tires or something. Yeah, her bike has a flat tire. So Amber goes, why don't you just borrow your sister's bike? And her sister has this really expensive, like really high quality dirt bike that Rosie has been dying to have a go on, but her sister will not let her touch. So she goes and gets the bike, and they ride it into the woods. They're riding their bikes, and then...
They hear a scream.
And because the two brothers, the twins, Lyle and Kyle, have been telling them that there's a monster out in the woods.
Oh yeah, it's gonna get everybody, and that's when
it's gonna get them.
Yeah, and then that's when Rosie decides to turn around and start pedaling like the devil's right behind her. And as that happens, she hits like a rock or something wrong, and she falls off the bike face first. And nothing's bad to her, but the bike, Meg. What happened to the bike?
Then I saw it out of the corner of my eye. Judy's bike. It was a tangled mess of metal. Its crumpled front wheel rested against a tree. So it somehow just got like smashed up. I don't know if like a rock fell over when she tripped or something like that, but the bike is destroyed, and that's the point.
It got totaled.
Yeah.
And she's really afraid to go home because her sister will legitimately murder her.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, like, this is almost as bad as when Haley took Branda's car. This is like the 12-year-old version of that.
Yeah, except this is a bike, a really expensive bike, as we'll find out later on.
Yeah.
So, cuts the next day, and Rosie's freaking out. Her sister knows, and she's furious, and her parents are going to make Rosie pay for this bike, even if it costs her a bazillion years.
Yeah, even if she has to save up for the rest of her life.
I love that there's she has like a flash forward of like her parents in like an old retirement home.
Yeah, she has this vision of herself as like a middle-aged woman with graying hair going to the retirement home and giving her parents money for the bike.
I just like they're both like strapped on the life support. You did it. You paid for this stupid bike.
Now we can finally die. So Amber goes, well, why don't you try babysitting?
And she's like, ew, gross. Losers do that.
Yeah,
and
I don't want to have to change smelly nappies. That's disgusting.
And Amber's like, but that's my job. And, well, I do have this one client that had called me randomly and asked if you would want to babysit on Saturday. Well, I already have a client that night,
Yeah.
so why don't you take this one?
Yeah, so they're the Pendreds. The dad is a doctor or something, and they have a baby who needs to be minded on the Saturday night. And
Yes. Well, you forgot the weirdest part. So, Rosie calls up the Pendreds, and he's like, she explains the situation. He's like, yeah, okay. Give me your address, and I will pick you up at this time and drive you to my house. Not tell you where my house is, but I'll take you there.
Yeah, okay, so I was gonna lead into this, but she calls up the Pendreds, and the way that that Dr. Pendred is described as answering the phone just makes me think of Vincent Price or Peter Cushing or something. He's described as having, like, a very slow, scary way of talking.
I can see Vincent Price.
No, he's totally just Vincent Price. Like, these are the most obviously spooky people ever.
I kind of see it now. I really see that it's Vincent Price
Yeah.
now. That's like, I just imagine like just the Vincent Price laugh from Thriller.
Yes, definitely.
Every 5 seconds.
He drives a hearse. Now, at that point, you would think that that's enough red flags. Like, this very creepy older man who seems like he and his wife are way too old to have an infant child. He drives a hearse.
It's like in Series of Unfortunate Events. I've always wanted to drive in an ambulance.
Yeah. No, Sonny won't want to sit on his lap. He's dead.
But yeah, no, it's like, thinking of it now, like, this is like Stranger Danger, but for like actually Zach me, and like when I was, let's say, is Rosie like 12, 13?
Rosie's supposed to be 12. These characters are always 12, as I've said many times.
At 12, would you want, if you knew the person, let's just put it that way, not a stranger dude, would you want to drive in a hearse?
Oh, definitely.
So it's like, for us, we'd be stupid idiots and go into the hearse regardless.
Well, no, not if it was a weird guy that I didn't know.
I'm not saying, okay, that's what I'm just saying. Would somehow end up in this hearse.
Yeah, but if it was like a family friend who I trusted, I would be like, heck yeah, put me in that hearse.
Can I ride in the coffin?
100%. 100%. Yeah, the biggest red flag of this is, why does he have a hearse when he's not a mortician?
Well, she doesn't know that.
Yeah, she says Amber hadn't said anything about Dr. Pendred being an undertaker. He's a doctor or something. Why does he have a hearse?
Well, I mean, he could be a pathologist, but then again, that still wouldn't explain the hearse.
So, she gets in and, he's driving around without his headlights on?
Yeah, he is, and I feel like his horn's also like a funeral, like do.
Oh, yeah, so basically everything about him just screams spooky.
Spooky. Like, he has like a gear shift, and it probably has like a skull on it, too.
And the little ornament on the front hood of the car is like a bat or something.
Yeah, no, it's also a skull. They finally get to his house.
Yeah.
And he meets Mrs. Pendred?
Yeah, we're introduced to Mrs. Pendred, and they are both...
like, super duper old.
They are very old, like, in their 80s, at least, from the way they're described.
Isn't, like, Mrs. Penderson's described as, like, decrepit?
Yeah, she's... But that can be any age if you don't take good care of yourself.
She makes a point of saying that she's super old and looks like the Crypt Keeper.
Yeah, that she's... she was old, really old. Not like my grandmother, more like my great-grandmother. Her hair was white, her face was wrinkly, her shoulders were stooped and fragile.
This is already red flags and stuff, and she's like, don't worry, you don't have to watch the baby, she's already asleep, and,
Big red flag.
I'm like, no thanks. Oh, by the way, we got you sweets, and you can watch the satellite TVs, you could watch the Full Houses, or the Fresh Prince of Bel-Airs.
Yeah, and she even thinks it was too good to be true, and yet I couldn't help frowning. Even though this was my first babysitting job, I knew that this wasn't the way things usually went. Then get out of there!
Like, my brain would be like, get out. And I think the biggest red flag is, can I see the baby? No.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you have a baby. I think I hear my mom calling
I
me.
have to. I left the stove on. I have to go right now. Then they leave to go off to do whatever they do, and she spends a lot of time just kind of looking around the house, and she notices that they don't have a lot of baby things. They don't have, say, a high chair or toys or pictures of their baby anywhere.
No, they just have a bunch of she looks in the fridge, and I just love that all the fridge is just junk food and mini pizzas.
But you know what? Ignore all that, because guess what? She's got satellite television.
Yeah, and she watches her favorite sitcom. I was trying to figure out, I have to say, I think it has to be Full House she's watching. That's the only thing that makes sense at this time.
Really? Was that anyone's favorite sitcom?
Well, she's stupid and she's 12.
That's true. I mean...
When my sister was 12 and stupid, she watched Full House like it was a religion.
No. I have never watched Full House. Well, I have watched Full House, but I don't like it. I was always more of a Saved by the Bell kind of kid.
Oh, don't speak about that in this house.
So she eats all the mini pizzas, and there's the whole chapter is basically like, she's just eating and hanging around and being like, well, this is weird, but I'm not gonna do anything about it.
No, and then like the Pendreds come home and like, oh, you did such a good job. And Mr. Pendred just pulls out a wad of cash and just gives her $100.
Yeah.
Like, that's not, okay, I had to look up, like, 1996 inflation. He legitimately gave her $157.
What?
Adjusted for inflation.
She's amazed because she's never even seen a $100 bill before.
Yes, but it's still not enough to cover the mountain bike.
No, because it's, like, greatest mountain bike ever.
I guess. Yeah, whatever. So the weirdest thing though, again, more red flags, is that he tells her, oh, we'll be home by 26 minutes after midnight.
Which is a weirdly specific time. And he also says, after he gives her the $100 bill, that crisp $100 bill, don't breathe a word to any of your girlfriends about how much you were paid. They'll all be after your job. Oh boy! Oh boy!
Okay, you know what I'm thinking of now, Meg? I think of
What?
the couple, like the Pendreds are like the couple from American Gothic. That painting.
Yeah, but also, like, pro tip to any children in the audience. If an adult ever gives you something and says, don't tell any of your friends, that's weird. That's a creepy adult. Don't talk to them.
Yeah, don't talk to the adult. They're probably on some special list somewhere.
Yeah, they 100% are on some list somewhere. So they ask her to come back next weekend. And because she really wants to pay off this bike, she immediately agrees. But as she's walking to the car, she smells something.
Something gross. Something dead.
Right. And once again, he's not an undertaker, but his hearse smells of death.
And it didn't smell like that before they left.
Yeah, like, I mean, as I said on Twitter, this book is somehow way more brutal and way less brutal than I imagined. And the way less side is, reading it as an adult, I just keep thinking, Rosie, you're an idiot.
It's not worth the food of the satellite TV with
It isn't worth the satellite television. It is not worth paying off the bike. Get out of there right now.
Just explain to them, yeah, this is kind of creepy, but, of course she goes along with it. She tells Amber about all the weird stuff, and Amber's mad because she's not the one that picked up that job.
She's not the one getting paid crisp hundos.
Yeah, like she's gonna make it rain. And she's like, I wish I could have taken that one. You could have dealt with poopy diapers. Cuts to next week when she goes back to the Pendreds.
Yeah, and once again, she says, can I see your baby? Parents are like, nah.
Can you at least give me a phone number in case there's an emergency? Oh, there won't be an emergency.
Do you want me to look at, don't you want to show me where you keep the diapers and the bottles and the medicine in case she does wake up? Mrs. Pendred frowned at me. Certainly not, she scolded. There's only so many times I can say, get out of there. This is not right.
You can say it again.
Get out of there. This is not right.
You said it.
Yeah.
This is like the ultimate PSA. If you're ever actually, here's a good question, Meg. Were you ever a babysitter?
I never babysat for money when I was a kid because, pretty busy with school. I never really had a job when I was a kid, but I would occasionally look after my niece and nephew when they were babies.
Well, I mean, for me, I have to dog sit, but that's I guess it. I guess it's different, but I guess here she's dog sitting.
She's babysitting and she's dog sitting. Spoilers.
Dude, dog sitting is the greatest thing because I got to dog sit some of my close friends, and they literally they just gave me their house, and all I had to do was walk their dog, and their dog loves me, so we would walk around, and it was fun. This is weird and creepy, and don't do this, guys.
Yeah, don't do this. This kind of reminds me of something that happened to me recently that I think I've told you about off mic, but this is relevant to the show now. I put up an ad on Gumtree offering my services as an English and visual arts tutor for high school students, and I got a call from somebody who claimed to be the director of an all-female life drawing club in the inner city who needed somebody to direct their nude male drawing models because the models didn't speak very good English. And the whole time, this person, I couldn't tell if they were male or female because they were quite old and they sounded like they smoked, so it was really hard to tell the gender just over the phone. But whoever this person was, it sounded like they were running some kind of dodgy sex thing.
Like you'd wake up and you'd be in a crate somewhere.
Yeah, it's like if I go there, I'm gonna uncover this human trafficking ring, and then they're gonna shoot me because I know too much. Yeah, so I noped out of that pretty fast because I was like, well, does your group have a website? And they dodged the question, and I was like, oh, okay, so you're gonna be like that. Oh, well, you are suspicious.
Stranger danger. This is where like you end up there and just you're like, why am I in a nightclub with a bunch of weird, creepy people?
Yeah, why is everybody here actually a dog?
I was about to say it's like just like blood starts coming out of the sprinklers. Oh,
it's one of those clubs. She says, I stared in horror as the front door closed behind them. Some babysitting job. For all I know, there might not even be a baby in this room. So she tries the door, and the door is locked.
The baby's room.
The baby's room is locked. And then she's distracted by a knock at the door, and she gets there, and it's her friend Amber.
Yeah, she doesn't know who's at the door because they don't have, like, the peepholes. So she just has to open the door. Which
is, honestly, why would you not have a peephole?
She doesn't even, say, who is it? She just opens the, she's an idiot.
She is an idiot. She did...
should be dead, 6 times over by now.
Yeah, this is the epitome of first 5 minutes of an episode of Supernatural, honestly. This is, the epitome of that person.
Or the pre-movie before credits kill?
Yeah, the opening kill. This is peak opening kill, girl.
They don't... No, so they go outside and they check the baby's room by...
Yeah, so she finds out, the door to the baby's room is locked. They don't have the key. So she and Amber go outside, go to the window, and Amber, lifts her up so that they can look in. And she doesn't see any movement in the baby's room. She sees, a crib and a wardrobe, and there's a nightlight, and she's like, well, okay, that's fine. This is a baby room. But then when she gets down, she realizes, oh, wait. Why was the crib that big if it's just a baby?
Oh my god. And it's creepy. And it's okay, we're gonna go inside. Actually, doesn't Amber's I'm out of here.
Yeah, Amber's no. Amber is smart.
Amber's I know I've taken classes on this. Leave. Get out now.
But she's smart, but she's also awful because she doesn't insist that Rosie come with her.
Rosie is just sitting there chilling, and then she starts hearing weird scratching noises.
Yeah,
and she's what's going on? But then all of a sudden, the Pendrids come back, and they're oh, you did a good job again tonight. And
you've forgotten about the part where she goes into the fridge, finds a bowl of what she thinks it's sticky rice, but she opens it up and it's maggots.
Okay, you know what that reminded me of, Meg? Did you ever watch Ghost Ship?
No.
Okay, there's a part in that where these guys. Okay, the whole movie's about these people that end up on literally a derelict cruise ship. Mm. And there's a part where these guys are literally eating pasta, and they look down and they're not eating pasta; they're eating maggots.
That just makes me think of What We Do in the Shadows. Nick, I didn't realize you like eating worms. Haha, you like that bit? We stole it from the Lost Boys.
But yeah, no, it was just fun. If I could find that clip, they're literally just having fun. They're shooting this shit, and then they look down oh, this is weird. So no, they describe it in weird gory detail where she throws it against the wall.
Yeah, and it's like a liver or something that's got maggots all over it, and it's the worst.
And then she spends the rest of the night cleaning up.
Yeah, she screams for about, like, she screams repeatedly. The next line of dialogue is just, ew, ew, ew! And just on a side note, I feel like, you know how R.L. Stine loves his random sentence fragments?
Yeah.
Betsy Haynes loves her some exclamation points.
Ew! Grody!
So many of these sentences end with exclamation points. Even not in dialogue, just like in narration. There's lots of them.
Wait, Meg, this one wasn't written by Betsy Haynes, though.
Oh, no, it was ghostwritten, that's right.
Actually, it says it right on the cover. It says, David Bernardino.
David Bernardino loves exclamation points.
And she probably looked at it, yeah, this is fine. This sounds like me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then the Pendreds come home. I erased that from my mind because it was actually kind of creepy.
It was, and I'm surprised that I didn't remember that part, but we'll get into it later. Certain lines in this book have been, like, burned into my consciousness.
It's like, was it the theory when you die, the last image you see is burned into your retinas?
Yeah, in my last life, this book killed me because I got spooked so bad.
You triggered a heart attack?
Death by spookening.
So yeah, then they come home and she's just freaked out, like, this is the last night I'm doing this, bye. And Mr. Penderson is like, hey, are you interested in coming back tomorrow? Because it was slim pickings tonight. And that's not weird at all.
No, it's not. Anyone would put two and two together. And if you hear them saying, what does he actually say?
No, that's what he says. Was slim pickings tonight.
Yeah. Okay, slim pickings. Drives a hearse. Car smells like death. If that is not like the calling card of a grave robber.
I don't know what is. No, she's like, I don't want to come back to tomorrow. And he literally starts, like, okay. Like, he pulls out 100, and then another 100, and then another 100.
Chris.
And she's like, I guess she has her price. And she's like, this is not even enough to cover my sister's dirt bike, but I guess I could take it. And I'm like, how expensive is this dirt bike?
I don't know. I've never had a dirt bike, so I don't know how much a dirt bike costs.
Almost not like $500 worth of dirt bike. I don't think it's that expensive.
What if it is like one of those motorized dirt bikes? Maybe that's why it's like such a coveted and expensive thing.
Yeah, okay, it's possible. But yeah, so money speaks and she gets back in the hearse and she doesn't smell anything weird. But you know what I thought of? You know what happens when he turns on the keys, Meg?
What?
He's playing Run Rabbit.
Oh no. Or, what's that one from?
Or, like, Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah, Jeepers Creepers, or that song from The Wizard of Oz that they always use in, like, you know, the one that's like, you're out of the woods, that one always gets used in horror movies.
Or Tiptoe Through the Tulips.
Oh, man.
There's playing Tiny Tim.
But especially Run Rabbit Run, because that is, like...
That's peak serial killer.
That is the anthem of...
Creepers.
Yeah.
The funny thing, oh god, that's what's playing. So then they drive away.
Straight up creepin'.
Yeah, like straight out of creepin'.
Yeah, like new fan theory. Ahmed from the Mummy's tomb is his like nephew or something. Because they're at the same level of like very obviously evil.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So she comes back the next night. And she's actually, wait, no, we forgot the most important things. Remember, she demands that tomorrow night that they would have to show her the baby and show everything. And like, sure.
She comes in and they like run out of the house before she can address them.
Like, it's like a Mad Max type of like, they just like gun it.
Yeah, we have to run. We were in a terrible hurry, she said, jumping into the seat beside her husband almost before I was all the way out. Go on in, the door's open. But what about you promised you'd... I managed to choke out. Hey, wait! They both ignored me. Dr. Pendred put the car in reverse and shot down the driveway with the tires screeching.
Witness me!
Near.
But yeah, so that happened, and
they gotta get to the Thunderdome. The Thunderdome's gonna close in 30 minutes.
Two Pendreds enter, none leave.
Well, so she's like, that's it. I'm gonna figure out what this is. And so she determines that she's gonna find out how to get in.
She's read every Nancy Drew, so she knows she's pretty prepared for what's gonna happen.
She knows. She's gonna do some serious sleuthing.
Yeah, so she goes in and she tries the door again for the nursery and nothing. It doesn't work.
So she goes down to the basement.
No, she doesn't. She go no.
Oh no, she doesn't.
She goes to the kitchen first.
Oh yes.
And that's when she goes to the kitchen sink and she sees a olive. No. She picks it up and Meg, do you have 20/20 vision?
No, I wear glasses. You know this
good,
about me.
Because this person probably didn't wear glasses either because she found an eyeball.
Oh no, it's gross.
Like ew.
This book is gross.
I'm not sure about you, but I've also had one of my biology classes. I had to dissect a cow eye.
Oh yeah, no, the cow eye is standard. I feel like everybody did the cow eye.
Like I know how that feels, and it just like every way I think about it, it's just like ew, gross.
I know it's yucky.
And then because that's when she drops it and it bounces and goes into the basement.
Then she goes to the basement.
Yeah, she follows the eyeball
to the basement.
Yeah, she follows the red drip road, and in there, that's when she sees like the weird like doctor's room. Like I feel like it's got like the old magazines. It's got like a waiting room.
Yeah.
It's like this is what this person must do all like his patients and stuff. Is like Mrs. Pendred as like secretary or something?
Okay, so she thinks, but then Dr. Pendred is a doctor. This is probably where he sees his patients. Is he a mob doctor? Why would he be seeing his patients in a dirty basement? Yeah, just like every single thing about this older couple is just like continuous parade of red flags.
Yeah, where do you think he can like wave out like wads of hundreds and be like, yeah, oh, you can watch her baby. It's probably like for all she knows, it's just she's watched like a big hunk of cocaine.
Oh man, right? So she finds all of this doctor stuff and she's looking around thinking, okay, well maybe there's a key down here.
No, she doesn't find it. She starts looking through all the drawers and stuff until she finds the journal.
Dun-dun-dun-dun. And this is the part. This specific chapter is what ruined me as a child.
Meg, do you want to read the first entry?
Okay.
Or do you want me to read the first entry?
No, I gotta do it. I gotta face this. Okay. Rosie will sit again tonight. We don't think she suspects anything. We are so fortunate to have a totally inexperienced babysitter. She's such a dear. She does exactly what Maudie tells her. We laugh together to think that she has no idea what's on the other side of the nursery door. Our lovely one sleeps all through it all while we search among the dead for our precious one's sweet elixir of life. Dr. Solomon Pendred.
If you don't have a red flag, her name's Maudie, and his first name is Solomon.
And then when she's finished reading that, she hears the sound of furniture being dragged across the floor, and it's coming from which room, Zach?
Above her. The nursery's right above her.
And she thinks, what kind of baby can push furniture across the ground?
Obviously a strong one. Gosh.
And she starts to hear sounds.
Okay.
If you were here, I would have punched you. I'm gonna read this for you.
Okay.
August 17th, 1949. Today was the most tragic day of Maudie's and my life. Our precious little one was on a blanket in the front yard, frolicking with a kitten. Dear Maudie was gardening nearby. Suddenly, a car jumped the curb and came crashing across the lawn. Hearing Maudie's hysterical cries from my office inside the house, I rushed out to find our precious one had been crushed beneath the wheels of a car. The driver had merely driven away. I was sure she was dead, but when I cradled her in my arms, I could see that she was still breathing, though barely. I rushed her to my office and called for an ambulance, but when they arrived, they shook their heads, sadly, saying she could not survive. I begged them to let me tend to her during her dying moments. Since I was a doctor, they agreed. So I stand beside the crumpled body of my darling one, praying for a miracle. And then, a bit later, she reads more, obviously horrified at both the the realization that their baby was hit by a car, and also the fact that it's apparently, like, How long ago was 1949 in 96? Was that like 50?
40 years?
Yeah, like 50 years ago.
What's it called? But as it's happening, she hears crash, bam, crash.
And then she reads, she clings to life. Her valiant little heart beats on. She's cheating death. Then suddenly, Dr. Pendred's tone changed. She cannot eat. I feel she'll starve. I must find nourishment for our precious one. I'll do anything. And she hears more noises from upstairs, so she starts reading more frantically. The date of the entry on the new page was August 23rd, 1949. I couldn't stop myself from reading more. It's a miracle. I had almost all but given up hope when something extraordinary happened. In our tragedy, I had forgotten about the kitten our precious one was so fond of, but when I realized it hadn't come around to be fed since the day of our accident, I went to the yard to look for it, and there it lay, poor thing, in Maudie's flower bed, dead as a doornail. It has been hit by the same car as our precious one. I picked it up gingerly, since it was oozing decay by now, and carried it inside the house. I wanted to find a burlap sack to wrap it in so I could bury it in the garden, but when I carried the poor thing past our dear one, so pale and desperately starving, she opened her eyes, and I swear she smiled at the lifeless carcass I was carrying. I was stunned to see such a reaction, and in my joy, I hurried to dispose of the kitten, but before I could do it, I was struck by inspiration. I carried the lifeless beast to my laboratory and began examining it under my microscope. At first I saw nothing unusual, but the more I gazed through the lens, the more I began to detect something I had never noticed before. Tiny enzymes so rare that they were only found in rotting carcasses. Oh, hallelujah, they were exactly what I needed to nourish our precious one. He fed her a dead cat, I whispered in horrified disbelief.
Oh my god. Okay, so this is where I would just be like,
that one specific line, I swear she smiled at the lifeless carcass I was carrying. That, 3 o'clock in the morning, some days I will wake up and that line just, comes to me.
In a cold sweat.
In a cold sweat. That's one of the lines that's just been, burned into my retinas. Because, my hands are shaking.
It's okay. I'm so sorry, Meg.
You did this to me. You
don't worry. If we ever meet, you can punch me in the face. This is an audio will and testament to my last, my dying days.
Okay. So, oh my god, that explains it, I murmured, shaking my head. I backed away from the desk. I didn't want to believe it, but I knew it was true. The smell of decay in the hearse, the maggoty mess in the baby dish in the fridge, even the eyeball. Now I understand why they go out at night. They're looking for roadkill. And I think the reason that, this is another one of those less brutal than what I remember it is, in my mind, looking back, they were actually digging up human graves. And I think that the reason I thought that was because I was conflating the fact that he drove a hearse. And also, I misremembered Boneyard Woods as being an actual boneyard.
Oh, okay, that would make sense. And, I mean, I think it's grosser that they literally pick up roadkill off the side of the road.
Oh, no, definitely, but both horrifying.
Oh, yeah, no, and then that's when, it's crash, bang, it's getting louder and louder, and she's trying to get out of there. And then, isn't that when they get the very last entry?
Yeah, August 17th, 1989. Alas, today is my precious one's 41st birthday, and I am growing so weary. Although I have managed to keep her alive, she has gradually changed into a horribly disfigured creature with a huge appetite. I fear she no longer even recognizes Maudie and me, but we still love her, and we must continue our struggle for as long as it takes.
There's one more. I'm going to read this last one.
You read this one.
And then she's flipping to the very end of the book. And Rosie reads, April 23rd, 1996. After years of grief and terror, we have finally hit upon the solution of our nightly problems. Our precious one's brute strength is unbearable, and when she wakes up hungry and we're not there, she breaks out of the house and goes on the prowl. More than once she has made a meal out of an innocent neighbor. The solution was quite simple, really. We started hiring a babysitter. Then when our precious one awakes and requires a meal, there's no need for her to leave home. It happened again last night. Fortunately, Maudie was quite good at copying handwriting. She merely wrote a note from the girl saying that she had run away, which we naturally turned over to the authorities. Unfortunately, we must move again before this investigation can begin and our precious can be exposed. No matter, we can always find another babysitter and pay her whatever it takes. Dr. Solomon Pendred. Yeah, let's just leave it at that. I'm leaving this house. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, but at this point, she's probably thinking, oh, no, why didn't I leave before? Why did I not see this coming a mile away?
You stupid fool.
She's going to escape when she hears not quite human voice coming from the baby's room, and it chants something that sounds something suspiciously like hungry.
Hungry, hungry, Angry.
And that cost me a lot of sleep when I was 10 years old.
Like, I can just imagine, just like thinking of it, like I get goosebumps. Which she says that, and I'm like thinking of it, oh, goosebumps, like how we spell it. It's like goose, and then they have hyphen bumps, and I was just like, I'm laughing.
Yeah, you forget it's like not a trademark. It's like an actual word that exists in the world.
I was like, oh wait, why isn't the B capitalized?
Ugh. So, if you've listened to the show before, you know that the twist is that the Mr. Pendred is actually a veterinarian. He's not a human doctor, and that the precious little one, no name given, is a dog and not a baby, and that's the twist. Reading this again with like knowing that, it's a little bit less horrifying, but I must reiterate, the first time I read this book, I went into it completely blind, and I was reading those horrifying journal entries, imagining a baby being run over by a car, coming back to life as a zombie, eating a dead kitten, and mutating into a horrible beast that craves human flesh.
Meg, I have to ask you, when she sees the dog, I straight up started laughing. What type of breed of dog is this dog?
Well, see, it's not ever directly, like...
Yeah, it is.
She says, but, like, you're sort of supposed to pick it up, but, look, okay, first of all, let's just describe the thing first. Let's go to the part where she describes the thing.
Okay.
The grotesque thing that stood in front of me was short and squat, coming only to my shoulder. Muscles bulged under its leathery greenish-brown skin. Its mouth was full of sharp fangs, and drool dripped down its chin. The creature growled and tossed its long snout. It shifted its weight between its short, stubby legs and reached one short arm forward. I noticed that it had sharp claws at the ends of its arms. It looked more like an animal than a person. "What have they done to you?" I whispered. And then she gets a letter opener to defend herself with. And when she looks at the letter, the opener, on the back, it has written on it, Solomon Pendred, DVM, and of course DVM stands for Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, and that's when she realizes the reason why they have, like, pictures of a Dachshund dog all over their house is because Precious One's not their baby.
It is their baby, but not...
It's their fur baby. It was their pet dog, and it was a Dachshund. And I had totally forgotten that it was a Dachshund, which made it a little bit...
I laughed because I'm, like, thinking of a cute little wiener dog. I'm like...
Yeah, but at the same time, like, imagine a wiener dog sort of, like, stretched out to a rough approximation of human proportions. Imagine that for a second.
Well, one of my friends had a wiener dog that was quite fat, so we used to call it a bratwurst.
Haha.
So, I was thinking of that dog, or just thinking just like a really fat wiener dog. Oh, okay, Meg, what type of dog would you think you would scare
in my mind, I was imagining it as like I don't know what kind of dog I thought it was looking back. Like, I think I just thought of it as being sort of like this disfigured mongrel thing.
You know, the first three dogs that I thought of before the wiener dog was, it's either a Shih Tzu, a pug, or it's gonna be one of those dogs that were bred to hunt bears.
Rhodesian Ridgebacks?
Yeah, those ones.
Oh, that would be... If it was like a Great Dane, that would have been horrifying.
Dude, I love Great Danes.
I love Great Danes. Scooby-Doo's a Great Dane, and I love Scooby-Doo. Therefore, I love all Great Danes.
They all think they're small dogs, and it's the cutest thing.
Yes. Yeah, and so, like, on the one hand, it is less horrifying to imagine, I keep still wanting to call it Princess.
We'll just call it Princess.
Yeah, her name might as well be Princess, because as I've said, she's never given an actual name. She's just called Precious Little One, and Darling, and things like that. But, yeah, Princess, it makes it less horrifying to imagine Princess as a sausage dog, but at the same time, like... A sausage dog still has sharper teeth than a human baby, so I'd still be, like, more scared of that.
No, it doesn't have... It's not sharper than any baby.
Yeah,
Sunny has the sharpest teeth.
Yeah, but she's fictional, and also she would never hurt anyone who didn't deserve it.
But, yeah, so she's being chased... But, okay, I feel like it just gets, like, it just becomes, like, a horror comedy. Like, this fat wiener dog is, like, chasing her.
It's a buff wiener dog, I'm sorry. Did she say it's fat? No, she says it has muscles. It's a buff wiener dog.
It's a swole wiener dog.
It is a buff bipedal wiener dog.
Oh my god! Wait, it reminds me of like Powerpuff Girls when where Blossom turns into a wiener dog, and she's
Yes.
like, "Wiener attack!"
Yes.
So that's when Rosie decides to run out of the house, and this bipedal wiener dog is chasing.
Is it bipedal though, or is it like running on all fours, kind of like an ape? Because the way I'm picturing it is that it's sort of roughly bipedal, but it's still got the stumpy back legs, but the front legs are stretched out for some reason.
No, and I kind of think now it's like a bipedal wiener dog, so it's just like waddling around. It's funnier now. It's not scary.
Yeah, it is, but like I still can't. Like I cannot not be afraid of this thing. You know what? You're laughing at me, but you know what? One day we're gonna read Why I'm Afraid of Bees. We're gonna read that book. I feel like you don't understand.
No, Meg, I do understand. What you need to do is you really.
I was shaped by the wiener dog, molded by it.
I didn't see an actual wiener dog until I was a woman.
Until I was an adult. Oh man. Yeah.
Oh
so
my
then, this is when it gets to be like the more brutal than what I remember. So she's trying to like get it to. She's trying to get away from it. She finds out that it's afraid of the dark. She like figures that out because there was a nightlight in the room. So she gets away from it by like turning all the lights off and running, which is. Like, why would a dog be afraid of the dark? Dogs have better vision in the dark than they do during the day.
Well, this is maybe its eyes are decayed or something.
Maybe it's, yeah, well, it is a mutant, so anything goes. Anything goes. It's a zombie mutant. So
they gave it, like, raptor DNA. Actually, they gave it, like, T-Rex DNA, so as long as you don't move.
They gave it cuttlefish DNA so it can turn invisible. And so she's trying to sort of appeal to its innate domesticated dog nature by saying, "Oh, you precious puppy, yeah, you're a good girl. Yeah, you're not gonna eat me." But the dog sort of reacts a little bit and then continues chasing her.
No, that's when it bites her.
Yeah, and then seemingly like she gets chased into the boneyard woods, right? And
then that's when she loses the dog. But then she comes out the other side, and that's when she sees the hearse.
And she says, "Oh, look, it's a car parked by the side of the road." But when she goes over to it, she notices that it's the Pendred's hearse.
Yeah, they crashed into a light pole and they died.
And they're both dead. This is why it's, like, this is where more brutal than what I remember is, because I had totally forgotten that the older couple, like, they straight up die. In a car wreck.
I don't think it was even from Princess. It was just
they just crash it because he's an idiot who doesn't drive with his lights on. I mean, but at the same time, like, headcanon here. What if he crashed the car intentionally because he couldn't deal with having to go out and get roadkill? He was like ashamed of himself for playing God and bringing Princess back from the dead, and so he killed himself.
Well, my headcanon is he just had a heart attack while driving at like 80 miles an hour, trying to hit a raccoon.
Also likely. Is this the first book that we've read where somebody has, like, died from a thing that wasn't the monster?
Yeah, pretty much. But it's weird because okay, so the person that wrote this painfully describes it, and I thought this was horrifying. Like, Mrs. Pendred is, like, launched out of the car, and she's, like, partially decapitated.
And Dr. Pendred is slumped over the steering wheel, and they're bloody, and...
Yeah, it's like, it's horrifying. It describes a car accident quite viciously.
But because they've hit the pole, one of the telephone lines has come undone on top of the pole. And it's hanging down, and she hears the telltale crackling of electricity, and she gets an idea. She wraps her jumper around herself and gets ready to do this. She gets a dead raccoon, or a dead rat or something, and she lures the dog over, pushes it into the way of the wire, and it's electrocuted, and it dies. Which is hardcore as shit. I could hear a sizzling sound like bacon frying in a pan, smoke curled upward, and the awful smell of singed fur hit my nose. Metal.
Yeah, no, that's horrifying. And
yeah.
No, doesn't it say like it lights up like a neon sign?
Yeah, oh, it's just
Every way I think about it, and I have a messed up mind, it's just I was getting grossed out and disturbed.
See, I keep saying this book, like, the writing is definitely, like, child-friendly reading in that, like, it's easy enough for a kid to follow, but the subject matter
Is metal.
it is not for children. This would be, if you made this into a movie, it would be rated MA, 15 plus.
No, I think it would be like as gory as Reanimator.
Okay, so what's Reanimator rated?
R.
See, in Australia, we have MA 15, which is in between M and R, and it takes a lot to get a rating R in Australia, because most things that are, like, rated R in the States are actually rated MA 15 here.
Yeah, isn't that because you guys grade things differently? We're just like, Cannibal Holocaust, we'll just make that an R. Messed up movie. We'll make it an R.
Yeah, you sort of need something to go in between PG-13 and R, because there's, like, is it R for, like, sex jokes, or is it R for violent animal torturing and decapitation and cannibalism?
Oh, it's none of that. It's just, how they, okay, I'll give you an example. So, I think, actually, for Cannibal Holocaust, it's just, like, gore, intense violence, nudity, and language.
Yeah, but then but like Borat is also rated R.
Yeah, no, but it doesn't go into like every little detail.
Which is why you need another one. You need another one for things that, like, R here is basically either, like, full-on unsimulated sex or, like, the most extreme gore imaginable. MA is, like, Borat. But anyway, yeah, if this was made into a movie, it would not be suitable for children, is what I'm trying to get across here. It would, if you adapted this to screen and you tried to make it okay for kids, you would be editing out, like, 70% of the book.
I was thinking I feel like this would have made, like, an amazing, like, Tales from the Crypt episode.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Like, there's, like, everywhere I kept thinking of it, I just thought this would make, like, an amazing, like, Tales of the Crypt episode. Like,
yeah.
It's, like, perfectly paced like that.
It is. It's very fast-paced. Except for that one chapter where she's just kind of, like, looking around the house. That was a little bit, they could have cut that, but, other than that.
In theory, if you're doing it in film, it would take a lot less time to do than to read.
That's the truth. Her dad and her mom and Amber show up to rescue her, just, like, randomly, and she, doesn't fully explain the situation because she knows her parents would never believe her, but she says, their dog chased me out of the house. And then I found them dead in a car wreck.
I think that's even worse, though. It's like, like there's dead people behind me. Like, oh, what's that smell? Oh, look at these dead people. And the first thing she does is she hides. She gives them $100 and pockets the rest of the money.
What does she do with the rest of the money, Zach?
Oh, she does everything. Actually, this is where this becomes like the super, like, ham-fisted PSA message.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. This is very, like, Captain Planet towards the end.
No, oh my god, it's like only bad people lose at the end. So she donates the extra $200 to your local animal shelter, so you can keep those animals off the street. Make sure to spade and neuter your pets, folks.
Adopt, don't shop, because at your average pet store, they're not going to check if you are some kind of demented veterinarian who wants to do experiments on your dog. They'll just give it to you without worrying about these things. But you know what? Your local SPCA, they do background checks. They don't want you playing God.
If you want a really good one, and if you live in Southern California, go to Priceless Pets. There's 3 locations. There's one in Claremont, Chino Hills, and Montclair, Claremont. I can't remember. That one just opened up. It's a no-kill shelter, and all the dogs are lovely. If you want a puppy, that's on Saturdays, and it's quite a bit of money, but not as much as you'd pay for an actual puppy in a puppy mill.
And if you want to find a really good animal shelter in the Sydney area, you can go to Monica's Doggy Rescue in Ingleside. They are open most of the times. They are also a no-kill shelter, and most of my friends have gotten their dogs from there. We're going to get a dog from there, and they do a really good job over there. Just shout out to Monica for running a real good dog shelter.
Yeah, and if you ever meet anyone named the Pendrids, don't give them a dog, whatever you do, even if the background check is clear.
If you ever see a veterinarian driving a hearse, be suspicious. Do not go into their house. Do not take their candy.
No, I won't, Sam. I will not go in that house with that baby. Nor will I...
With that dog, baby, zombie mutant.
Nor will I drive in that hearse with a cat in a hat.
With a dead cat?
With a dead cat.
Yeah. So, what are our final thoughts?
I thought this book was actually really scary, Meg, and you were right.
I definitely think, like, obviously, as hard as it is for me to separate, like, the amount that I've, like, hyped this book up for myself over the last, like, 13 or 14 years, as much as I've, like, hyped this book up, it is still written in that very, like, 8 to 12 age group friendly writing style that is quite plain and, it's easy to follow. So it's not like it's painting like a hard. Sometimes they do paint very like horrifying word pictures, but it's not on the level of something by like Clive Barker. It is still very like written for kids. It's very like kid lit, but the content of it, I still have no idea how this is who said, yes, market this book to children. It's still, like, even thinking about it from an objective perspective and pretending that, like, this wasn't the book that broke me, this is still, like, tonally the darkest book that we've read on this show.
So, Meg, do you think you've faced your fear quite properly?
I think I have. I am still sort of, like...
Processing it?
I am still processing it. I'm still feeling a little lightheaded, but I feel like I've conquered this thing head on. Like, I'm always a believer of the idea that if you're really, really scared of something, if it happens to you, you're not going to be scared of it again. Like, that's my general theory. Like, I always want to go shark cage diving because I figure if I see a great white shark in the wild, it'll demystify them for me and I won't be afraid of them. You know, like, I won't have to, like, run out of the ocean every time I go swimming because I think for a second, shark? Is that a shark? Is that a shark? You know, it's the same with this. Like, now I'm not going to be afraid of this book because I've read it.
Yeah, no, I understand. So, Meg, normally you do this on your show, but was this trivial or truly terrifying?
It's still scary, but as an adult, it's nowhere near as traumatic as it was reading this at age 10.
So, is it trivial or truly terrifying?
It's both, my guy.
Oh
it
my
is
gosh.
Both.
But, yeah, for me, I just thought it was a really hardcore children's story. And I had a lot of fun reading this, a lot of laughs. It was funny because my dog was sitting on my lap while reading it. So it gets really weird when you're like a really big dog person. Maybe this might not be as scary if you're a cat person because you'd be like, look at these dog people. Look at them. But I feel like if you want to read this, don't read it with your children. Just
No, don't let your kids read it. But if you want like an easy, like a scary book to take with you on the bus and read in like a couple hours, this is a good one because it's enjoyable to read as an adult, even though it is a little bit kiddie. It's still very like it's got some honest like good scares and good writing in it.
So Meg, what are we reading next week?
Well, Zach, you might want to bring your leg warmers and your Lycra yoga pants because we're gonna get invisible, wanna see your body disappear. Yeah, we're reading Let's Get Invisible, which is the 6th Goosebumps book.
This is why you're my best friend, and you... Because I was gonna make that exact same joke, so thank you. You've made my night.
You're welcome. I'm glad that I can bring you some joy in these trying times.
Actually, no, I have some more joy, because we have yet to do the joke of the week.
Oh boy, yes.
So, from 101 Silly Monster Jokes by Jovial Bob Stein. You ready, Meg?
Entertain us, R.L. Steinmanson.
What is an abominable snowman's favorite food, Meg?
I don't know, Zach. What is it?
Cold cuts.
Da 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 da.
We have an iTunes review, Meg.
Good.
So we got one from the Film Roast podcast. I recommend listening to them because they drink coffee and roast movies. Nightmare on Fear Street has hosts who are clearly very well versed in the subject of R.L. Stein. They are really fun to listen to, especially for me, since I grew up in the 90s with Goosebumps books all over the place. There are plenty of things to revisit and learn when you listen. Zack and Meg are a lot of fun.
Good. I review that review. 10 out of 10, A+.
Yes, would bring back a dog again.
No, we wouldn't, because we're not going to do that. Where can they find you on the internet?
So they can find me at Suda41. If you want to follow our show, that's at Night Fear Street. That's on Twitter. If you want to email our show and send us spooky messages, that's nightmareonfearstreet@gmail.com. Now, if you guys want to leave us an iTunes review like the Film Rose podcast, we would really appreciate it. It helps boost our numbers up, and also it gives us a way to contact the dead. If you want to donate to our Patreon, where we will actually fund scientific attempts to stop this type of malpractice in zombie dogs. That's
malpractice. You said male practice.
See, this would happen.
Doesn't matter.
We're going to stop both of them regardless. Toxic masculinity is the reason behind zombie dogs. You can find us at Patreon/Nightmare on Fear Street. Where can they find you, Meg?
They can find me at Meg Chuden on Twitter. That's at MEGTUGEN. Also, you can find my other show, the Trivial Terror Podcast, on Podbean and iTunes. And if you want to find me on Tumblr, I am sodasodabanana.tumblr.com.
Sweet. Well, I'm Zach.
I'm Meg.
Rosie, say something. Oh, okay. I'm Rosie. And stay spooky.